Okay, so we're going to start with a prime factorization tree, and you're going to find two numbers that when multiplied together equal 50. So you can pick any two that work. So I'm going to pick 10 and 5. You might pick a different one, but those are the two that I'm going to choose. And then you look at the next row and you find out what numbers when multiplied together equal 10. So I'm going to pick 2 and 5. And then what numbers multiplied together equal 5? So there are none except for 5 and 1. And as soon as its number...
I have to look up my charger really quickly.
Okay. As soon as it's 1 in itself, that's called a prime number. And we circle the number. It means that we can't make it lower than 5 in itself, or 2 in itself, or 3 in 1. So now that we have our numbers circled, we're going to write them out from least to greatest, and we're going to do it like this. 2, and then we're going to do a dot like this. This means multiply. And then we're going to do the next one, 5, and then another dot, which means multiply, and then we're going to do the last number. If there's more than one of the same, you're going to write it like this, with that exponent and the base. So if there were 2 5s, you would write 5 to the second power. If it was 2 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5, like that, and 2 2s, you would write 2 to the second power times 5 to the 1, 2, 3, 4th power. So for homework, you're going to do 100, you're going to do 25, you're going to do 64, you're going to do 81, and you're going to do 200. Now, if you can't look at that and see what numbers go into it, then you have to do, like, suppose you don't know what goes into 64, you're going to have to go, does 3 go into it? And it has to go in evenly with no remainder. Nope, 3 does not go into it. Does 4 go into it? And you have to keep trying. But basically what I do is I use my multiplication facts. I know 8 times 8 is 64. I know 9 times 9 is 81. I know that because this ends in a 0, I can always divide it by 5 to find out what the number is that goes with 200. So you don't have to know it. You just have to know if it ends in an even number, then it will always be something you can multiply by 2. If it ends in a 5, you can always multiply or divide it by 5. If it ends in a 0, you can always divide it by 0. And if you can't see any of those, like 81, then you go, why does 81 seem familiar? Oh yeah, because 9 times 9 is 81. So those are the kind of strategies to use when you're trying to find the two numbers. And you keep going down and down and down until you get all prime numbers. And a prime number means that the only numbers that divide into it is 1 and itself. Do you have any questions about that, Kate?
I don't think so.
Okay, the next thing we're going to do is our 12s. So 12 times 3, 12 times 4, 12 times 5. And I want you to practice these 3 problems 4 times. So you're going to find out what the answer is here, here, and here, and you're going to go over it that many times. You're going to keep doing the problem over and over again until you understand what 12 times 3, 12 times 4, and 12 times 5 is pretty quickly. Okay, the next thing we are going to do is fractions. So if I have 1/2 plus 2/3, I have to find a common denominator, is what it's called. And that means we need to find out a number that when multiplied together would go evenly into 2 and 3. So the best way to do that is to count up by the number until you get to a common number that goes into both 2 and 3. And we're always looking for the lowest number. So for this one, it is 6. So we're going to rewrite the 6 here, and we're going to rewrite the 6 here. Now, some people teach it like this, where you write it here and you write it here. It doesn't matter if you go across or you go down. I just like to have more room, so that's why I go down. It's easier than this jumbled up stuff. So you can do it this way as well, but this way gives you more room, and that's why I recommend it until you get better at it. Then you can do it almost in your head. So this is 2 and this is 6. And in math, we can't just change a 2 to a 6. So what I have to do is I have to find out what number I would multiply by 2 to make it into a 6. So I would multiply it by 3. And anything I do to the bottom, I do to the top. 1 times 3 is 3. So this 1/2 became 3/6. And then this 3, can't just change it to a 6, so I multiply it by 2. And anything I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So that becomes 4/6. Now that I have the same denominator, I add the numerators together. 3 plus 4 is 7, and then I rewrite 6. So the answer is 7/6. So for homework, you're going to do 1/4 plus 1/8, 2/3 plus 1/4, 3/4 plus 1/8, 6/7 plus 1/2, 7/8 plus 3/4, 1/4 plus 1/3. Okay, least common multiple is when we multiply up. So if I asked you what the least common multiple of 5 and 10 are, you're going to do what we did for fractions to add them, except for we're not going to add them. We're just going to list the numbers. So do I have a common number yet? Yes, it is 10. So I circled 10, and the least common multiple of 5 and 10 is 10. Now I'm going to try it with a little bit of a harder number, 3 and 20. So I'm going to rewrite the numbers down here, and I'm just going to count by 3s until I get to a common number. So far I don't have a common number, right? So I'm going to keep counting up. I still don't have a common number, so sometimes it takes some time. Okay, now I have my common number, and it is 60. So the least common multiple of 3 and 20 equals 60. Okay, so we are going to do this 20 and 5, 3 and 27 for homework. All right, Miss Kate, do you have any questions about any of that?
No, I'm just writing it down really quick.
Okay. And then you're going to do your 3 1-minute reads 7 times in your Harry Potter book. So
Yeah.
the video is watching it 5 days a week, and the 3 1-minute reads is doing it 4 times a week. Okay, so no questions. Makes sense a little bit, kind of, maybe a little bit. Yes, no, maybe?
Yes.
Okay.